Hello everyone, and welcome to Team 5's presentation on designing the UNH Collections website. My name is Elvis Hidalgo, the leader for this team, and I will begin this discussion by briefly going over how we chose our project and the week-by-week process of planning and implementation. The process started with each member of the group coming up with potential shareholders for the project. We had a lot of entries, but we weren't 100% in favor of one or another. Then Professor Gildersleeve posted the announcement about Dr. Miko, who is a research scientist and the collection manager at the UNH collection of insects and other arthropods. Dr. Miko was looking for a redesign of the UNH collection website. One of our members suggested we should pursue the project, and after days of thinking about how we would approach it, we decided to go ahead with it. The initial state of the site seemed too simplistic with some unnecessary elements. The colors didn't match the visual identity and branding that's consistent with all UNH websites. There was very little styling with the text in each page. For example, the publications had so much information that it took roughly 9 seconds for me to scroll at a decent rate down to the bottom of the page. It seemed like the focus of the original editor was to make the site straight to the point. The site is also linked to a database where you can search the UNH collection. What we've decided as a group was to limit the scope of the changes we would make to justify redesigning the main pages of the site. We had a bit of a debate as to whether we could realistically redesign the database too, but after a few weeks of deliberation, that goal seemed unrealistic for just one semester. As for the way we operated week by week, I began by sending out frequent announcements on Canvas to my team regarding what our plans should be for the week. This became a permanent way of scheduling everything so everyone was on the same page, and no one's schedules conflicted with each other. I would start the week off with a goal and some preliminary information about the current assignment. In addition to the announcements, I created discussion threads under the Discussions tab in Canvas so everyone can input any thoughts they had along the way. Dates on when we would meet were decided by majority opinion, and if there were any objections, we would try to work around them so all members feel satisfied. We had a member who was very comfortable with writing to begin with, so he took the mantle of communication with our stakeholder. Whenever we needed the stakeholders' input on something, or files, or additional information about the site, the communicator would be tasked to get that information and disseminate it amongst the team. Apart from one person handling the scheduling and objectives, we didn't strictly adhere to them, especially towards the end. One of the major obstacles we had was getting the files from our stakeholder. We wanted to begin by acquiring the original website files so we have a reference, but the person who had the files had it on their local computer, so we never received them. What we opted to do instead was view the page source as a reference and start from scratch. Another obstacle was finding a host for our completed site. We requested permission to edit the site and upload it where the original site is hosted, but we were never successful in entering the host directory through SFTP. So I volunteered to register the IT502unhcollection.com domain and got the site hosted by hostinger.com for about a month. Overall, with a set weekly regimen, the process went pretty smoothly.
Hi, my name is Jarod. I'm responsible for the communications of Team 5, coordinating between our stakeholder and the rest of the team. I'm going to go over some of the specific team contributions to our overall redesign process, outlining how each member of our team contributed to our final product. Our initial approach to this redesign process was to break our workload into 2-hour chunks, with Elvis scheduling regular meetings for us to work collaboratively. Most of our work happened on our individual machines, sharing our progress through Discord as we worked. This was incredibly helpful, as it allowed each member to weigh in on the redesign process and let each teammate draw inspiration from another. This further enabled our site to have a cohesive style, as we were all able to work from the same general vision. For the physical site itself, we assigned each member a page to complete, assembling all of the final pages together at the end to shore up our styling and structure. Most of the so-called grunt work was done by Ryan and the rest of the team collaboratively. Elvis took on much of the organizational work, structuring our team meetings and ensuring we progressed through our work in an efficient manner. He was instrumental in the cohesion of our group and provided expertise in team management to create a work environment that was productive and focused. Further, he structured many of our checkpoint documents and provided insight into how we might distribute coding work across our team. With regards to the redesign itself, Elvis was responsible for the creation of the homepage, restructuring the content of the site to provide users with the clearest vision of the UNH collection. He contributed to the development of the footer and the site navigation, along with other members of the team. Ryan was responsible for the creative vision of our redesign, tackling our transition from the somewhat clunky original site into a responsive and cohesive end product. Ryan was responsible for creating the visual feel of our site, working with CSS and HTML to ensure a consistent feel across each page. Ryan further contributed to the development of our navigation, coding a responsive nav bar that reacted according to screen size, which I will demonstrate. He helped implement that hamburger drop-down list for smaller screen sizes, allowing our site to be accessible on different devices. This type of responsive design was implemented across each page as a result of Ryan's work. For the site itself, Ryan worked on the redesign of the People page, structuring the content and coding and style of the page. Connor was instrumental in the initial code building of the website, outlining the initial structure of the pages and enabling the group to adhere to our design standards. Along with Ryan, he aided in the creation of our site's overall feel, contributing both HTML and CSS code throughout his work on the project. Connor's focus throughout our redesign progress was on the Photos and Links and Outreach page, working alongside Ryan to reorganize the media of our site. He cleaned up the original code for those pages and laid a foundation for further polishing during the quality assurance stage. Lastly, I was responsible for curating the written content of the site, reorganizing portions of the content to ensure accessibility. I contributed to the development of the site's content, assisting the team with creating a site that was easy to read and navigate. In regards to the physical site, I was responsible for the publications page, combing through the initial list of publications and reordering them for clarity. These publications ranged from 2017 all the way back to 1988, so I wanted to ensure that these works were documented correctly and intuitively. I ensured each publication was readable and organized, compartmentalizing the page to allow easy navigation through each publication year.
Hello, my name's Ryan Foley, and for this part of the presentation, I just want to discuss how we use the books in the class and how we use the checkpoints. So first, I'm going to go over the books, and the first book I want to discuss is CSS in Depth by Keith J. Grant. In this book, it really helped us with implementing many things in the CSS and, many aspects of it. So the first thing I want to show you is just how the responsiveness of our site and, the media queries it discussed in the book and how to make your site responsive. Notice that the site shrinks as it responds to the differing screen size. So here we have the hamburger menu too, and this is another thing that CSS in Depth talked about, how to implement a hamburger menu. And the last thing I think it really helped us with was just using the grid layout. So the home page uses a grid, separating these into 3 different sections, and this is we have a 2 different section grid over here. The People page also used a grid layout to a degree, along with the photo page. And CSS in Depth was essential for its in-depth coverage of CSS. So the next book I want to discuss is Don't Make Me Think by Steve Krug. And this book was really helped us with our usability tests. It gave, very low cost ways to run usability tests, and this really helped us in making our site more usable and just, conducting the tests in general. Let's see. The next book I want to discuss is Above the Fold. And this book really helped us in how, planning out our site and how we're going to plan it. But also, it helped us with some standard, web conventions. So just, keeping a consistent navigation from each point in your site. So, notice that the navigation stays the same, the navigation bar. The header is pretty consistent on all the sub pages. So basically the consistency factor, and that was important and Above the Fold. The last book is Neuro Web Design by Susan Weinshank. And this book, is just trying to appeal to the user's brain and making our site appeal to it. So one thing, is drawing attention to the site you're on. So you notice how when we change sites, the site you're on, the user can easily see using old brain differentiation, they're on this page. And also just the way, the images. And this is, the user's going to be drawn to the images. So we put some, interesting images out here to make the user, drawn to these. And it's just, it's visually appealing as well to have images like that. All right. In terms of the checkpoints, the first checkpoint was mainly just, getting our ideas and just setting the roles for our group, which, set the tone for our project and is pretty important. Checkpoint 2 was more of the administrative tasks and getting, our mission statement out there and our goals, and I think our main goal that came out was we wanted to make a visually appealing redesign of the UNHC website. And while also, organizing the information in a more logical way. And for the most part, I think we did that, and that was pretty helpful in the long run. Also just focusing on who our target audience was came out of this, and we really focused on students and, creating a clean design for them that they can easily use to find information that was important in, driving our site. In terms of the third checkpoint, this is, implementing, our site structure. As you can see here, this diagram, we did originally have a much larger site structure, but, we simplified it and made it better. Also, just, structuring the navigation, how we were going to use the navigation and stuff like that. That also came out in this checkpoint. And lastly, just because we're going to use a UNH site, this is the UNH insect collection. So we had to use some UNH coding standards, and just one example of that is we discovered that we had to use these coded color schemes for the site. And yeah, so just using those sort of color schemes was something that came out of that. And the last thing was the fourth checkpoint 4. This is more of getting our design ideas onto, I guess, paper, or you could say screen in this aspect. We did use computers for this. But anyways, yeah. So this checkpoint is really just getting our ideas out there for how we're going to lay out the site. And while we didn't stick to every layout, but that we did design for this point, just for we've had better ideas later on. But the main idea stick, it helped us generate our thoughts for the site. Also, we established some coding conventions here for the group, just general ideas, and that made it a lot easier for the group.
Okay, hello. So my name is Connor LaRocque, and I focused on supporting the group throughout the design process at initial coding stages. Starting off here with the continued development plans, our group has expressed interest in continuing development on the site after implementing it, which we're confident Dr. Miko and the collection itself will appreciate. Starting off here with the People's page. So there are multiple profiles here. As you can see, these first two ones are filled out, but as you keep scrolling down here, the right side where the descriptions would normally go are not filled out yet. So that would be our first step, probably, as far as continuing development goes. But moving over to the publications page, as you can see here, these are all of the publications that have been published, by staff members relating to the collection. And there are publications from every year leading up to 2016, 2017, leading up to 2017. So I think it's pretty safe to assume that there are more publications that have been published between 2017 and now. So we will ideally be adding those to the publications page eventually. Also, we have expressed a desire to make a mobile version of the site. However, this requires additional coding, which was not a priority at the time of making the initial website redesign. Lastly, we wanted to add some sort of contact info at the footer here of the site, but we didn't want to give out contact details of other people without their permission, and we wanted to keep it concise. So we just have right now listed is going to be only last time it was up, the site itself was updated, which in this case is December 2020, but that'll change if we continue development. So just to close out the presentation here, I wanted to share the lessons learned from this redesign process. Most importantly, we realized the value in planning. This is thanks to the checkpoint system that Professor Gildersleeve implemented for the class. Checkpoints 1 through 3 cleared up many things, such as individual roles, site mapping, conventions, usability standards, and things of that nature. If we hadn't taken the time to do such planning, there's no doubt we would have had to stop work on the site to contact the stakeholder, Dr. Miko, and clear up any issues that he wanted us to do. The checkpoints also laid out a foundation for our coding process, as pictured here on checkpoint 4, the foundational just layouts for each page. So yeah, we knew where we needed to start and got going right away. Another major lesson learned as far as group collaboration goes was that when we first started, we expected to have a sort of Google-style real-time collaboration software for the pages, but we were unable to find such software that was suitable for our group and the task. So we decided to split the work up and then link the pages afterwards. However, the problem with this was that we all had different styles of writing code and different ideas of where the website was going to go. So when the time came to link the pages together, cohesion across the site was nearly non-existent. I mean, the colors were all off and people's just certain styles were all different. As you can see here now, contact us, links and outreach, photos even, are all similar looking. They all look pretty good, at least in our opinion. And yeah, we had to spend a decent amount of time actually fixing that and making it look so. The planning phase, such as the checkpoints and actually UNH's visual identity site, which is pictured here, has the fonts that we used and their accent colors, which without the planning phase and this site here, we would have had further issues as far as cohesion goes. So yeah. Lesson learned, plan out your collaboration methods in advance on top of the content for your pages itself. All in all, we are confident we achieved our goals. This process was very fulfilling and educational, with the skill in web development being invaluable for future use. We just want to finish this presentation by saying thank you in particular to Professor Gildersleeve for the guidance and Dr. Miko for the opportunity. And yeah, this has been Team 5's presentation on our website redesign, and thanks for watching.